Hi, I'm Brooke. Welcome to my channel. Today, I want to talk about shifting your reality. It can happen in an instant. I'm sure that you've experienced it. I have. And I'm going to share with you a method that I use. I'm going to tell you about the first time I did this. It just sort of unfolded naturally. And now this is like a method that I use. I don't know, I just kind of made something up, but it works. So I'm going to share it here with you. And I was going to tell you about the first time I did it, like how it unfolded. And before I do that, I'm going to make an announcement here that a lot of you have reached out to me asking if you could talk to me. So I created like a one-on-one session called Ask Me Anything. I'm going to put a link in the description. The link is also in my channel. And if you have questions about like stuff that I've talked about in these videos, if you want to share your experiences and want to get feedback or just want to talk to someone who's gonna like be like, yeah, I believe you. That happens. Or just want to talk about like consciousness and the quantum verse. I don't know. I'm into it. And yeah, and if you don't know, I am a fine art photographer. This is my artwork. I'm in my gallery in Manhattan Beach, California. If you want to talk to me about starting a business, if you're an artist and you're having trouble maybe putting yourself out there, I'm really good at cheering people on. So definitely check it out. And I'm going to put also a link to my artwork. So I'm going to put all those links in the description. Okay. So, shifting your reality. I mean, we talk about obviously there's all these videos and people talk about it. So, I'm going to tell you a story. Story time. Get ready. And this is the first time. So, if you're familiar with Abraham, you're probably familiar with Abraham Hicks. If you're watching this video, I'm assuming. If not, it's a channeled entity, it's a channeled message. Um, and they like to say that there's a way for everybody to be satisfied. And it's funny because I feel like I've always been a little skeptical of that until this thing happened. And then I was like, you know what? I see what they're saying. So I had a situation where I was in my gallery, and so right across from me, there's a parking structure with like a staircase. I'm on the alley and I'm right in the downtown. There's all these restaurants. So a lot of the waiters take their break in the alley. A lot of times they sit on the steps and they get on their phone and stuff. And I usually sit at my desk, the door's open, and I kind of am like right in front of the staircase. And generally speaking, I don't know, I don't really notice that much about what goes on out there. But on this particular day, I was in my gallery and it was really quiet. I was working, it was kind of like a quiet time of day, and I was really enjoying my quiet. And some, waiters out on the steps and got on, he was watching a video on his phone, and it was so loud. It's like, oh my God, how can it be this loud? Like, how is a phone even this loud? And I just started to get like really agitated and it was so interesting because I got so agitated. And I'm kind of like trying to give him like a dirty look. Like maybe he'll get a hint, which is funny because usually I'm the kind of person I would just like walk over there and be like, hey, can you keep it down? Um, but you know what? He was just sitting there really minding his own business, and I was getting agitated, and I took note of like I'm really agitated. So what I did was I got out my pen and paper. I always keep a journal with me. So I took out my journal and I started to write down like this guy's so rude, blah blah blah. Like, I think it's important to like let yourself have your feelings, not to deny yourself. But I started to write in an idea of shifting my perspective. So I started with where I was at. And then as I'm writing, what I like about writing, if I just let the thoughts go, they just kind of like spin out. And then before I know it, I'm down a road of not feeling great. But if I write it down, it focuses me, and then I can also see what's really going on. So I started to write it out, and then I'm looking at it, and I started to realize, this guy's just on his break. He's not bothering anybody. He can listen to his volume however he wants. And maybe it sounds different out there. Maybe it doesn't sound loud because there's other things going on, or he hasn't noticed or whatever. Could be a million reasons. So I started to soften, I started to relax. And then I turned to myself and I thought, okay, look, first I thought, look, this guy has a right to have his, to enjoy his break. And then I said, and you know what? I like it quiet, and I have a right to like it quiet and to have it quiet. I'm allowed to have that too. And the universe has a way to have us both be satisfied, to satisfy us both, right? I remembered Abraham, so the universe has a way to satisfy us both. Period. As soon as I put the period on the sentence, I swear to God, the volume went down. The volume went down like in that instant, went down. I didn't say anything to that guy. He didn't even look up at me. It didn't even look like he did anything different. Like he didn't look any, he was just in the same exact position. And I was like, oh my God, it's true. The universe has a way to satisfy us both. I was so excited. And it was so instant. It was so amazing. So I have some different theories as to what goes on. And I would say that it probably doesn't really matter the how of it, but I'm curious what you think. So, A, clearly I softened my perspective, my vibration, and I would say either like in that softening, perhaps then a message could go through, like a telepathic energy could go to him, and it occurs to him, hey, maybe this is loud, and he turns the volume down, right? That he gets some kind of idea. Because if I'm so agitated, that idea can't travel. Um, so I definitely think that's a possibility, like some kind of telepathic connection. The other thing I think about is perception. Like, did the volume go down or did I just hear it different? Because I all of a sudden now I'm calm, relaxed, and I'm not setting it up as I'm right, he's wrong. I'm polite, he's rude. In that energy, like then we're stuck. If I'm defining us that way, we're stuck like that. And I would say in that energy, if he's wrong and rude, even if he turned it down, probably wouldn't be low enough, wouldn't be good enough, wouldn't be right. Because if he's wrong, how could he do something that's right? If I'm defining my reality, if I'm the creator of my reality, then and he's wrong, the volume will never be right. So I think there's a certain when I softened it to, we're both fine. We can both have what we want. We're both just living our lives. Nobody's doing something wrong. Then all of a sudden, when nobody's doing something wrong, must be all right. And so it just became where we both were satisfied. I mean, he looked satisfied. I mean, he just looked the same the whole time. And then I was satisfied. The volume was a decibel that pleased me. So I think about that a lot. And so, since then, I do that all the time where I get out, if I'm feeling agitated, I get out my pen and paper and I can usually move through it where I give myself space to be like, this is what I'm thinking. And I just let her rip. I don't hold back. And then usually I can see, hey, like, is that really what you want to think? And then I relax a little and then I'm able to even out. And things usually will shift pretty quickly. Sometimes if I have more resistance, I really think it depends on resistance. I didn't really have much resistance to that because obviously the break only lasts so long, right? But so I'm curious what you think about what happened. I'm curious if you have like your own methods of moving through these kind of things. Obviously, that was like a small annoyance, but I think whether it's a small annoyance or a big annoyance, I think it's the same thing. I think what happens as people, as humans, we get this idea that there's like a threat, right? That there's like one way, and it's either a right way or a wrong way. And I don't think that's true. I think that's what we're told. But the more I experience all this kind of stuff, the more I think that's not it at all. I think there's just all these layers and levels and realities all stacked on top of themselves, and you can focus in and out. And so you're never really stuck on this illusion of like right and wrong and picking the right thing. I think that's really, we got sold a bill of goods, right? What do they say? I think that's the expression. Like, we're really selling ourselves short with that kind of thinking. Because what happens is you need some kind of enemy. You need like, oh my God, this person is doing this thing, and now my I'm threatened in some way. But if we're these infinite beings, and if there's all these, if time and space are malleable, then you're never trapped. You're never really threatened. You could shift your perspective just like I did. You could take someone that you're labeling as wrong and label them right, not right over you, right for themselves. Like what I did was I didn't go from me being right and him being wrong to him being right and me being wrong. I went to, we're both right. We both get to have what we want. We both know what we want and we get to have it. There's not some set way to do it. And this is something I think about a lot lately because seems to be a lot of agitation. I'm sure everybody, I mean, no, maybe not everybody sees it. Maybe some people are already in that Zen place. Sometimes I'm there for long periods of time, and other times I get agitated. And I do my best to stay in the Zen spot or to bring myself continually to that spot. But when I observe stuff like this, it really helps. And so I'll just say that when we do this dance of labeling someone wrong, no, this is a bad person. This is a bad idea. This is, like you put a stamp, like this is wrong. This is bad. You're really limiting yourself. Like maybe there's someone that does something you don't like. And if you just stick them with that wrong label, just stamp it on their forehead, then they can never do something right. And maybe that person actually has something amazing to offer you, but you'll never be able to experience it because if they're wrong, they can never be right until you change the story. And one last thing I'll leave you with is like Abraham Hicks, again, back to Abraham, they do this bit or whatever where they talk about losing your keys. And I just always think about it, I always bring it up because I think this is like the story of life. They talk about, everybody has the thing where you put your keys, you know where you put them, and then all of a sudden they're not there. And you drive yourself crazy, and you're looking through all the drawers, but you put them on the table or whatever, and you can't find the keys. And then eventually you just kind of give up and they show up. And so Abraham talks about that, and they say, you can't find something that's lost. If you're telling yourself the keys are lost, if that's how you're defining them, like what's the defining factor of lost? You don't have it. So you can't find something that's lost. You have to redefine it. So what happens? You say, "Ah, they're here somewhere. They have to turn up. They're here somewhere." And you kind of give up. And then you turn around and there they are in the place that you've looked. You looked in that place. So how is it that they show up in the place that you've been looking? Because you changed the story, you changed the definition. You took them from lost to they're here somewhere and they'll turn up. You changed the definition, the quality of it. The quality, I mean like the physical qualities, just by your words, just by your thoughts. To me, it's such a tangible thing like that we all have happened to us. And I always think about it every time I'm looking at something and getting irritated. Like, The keys are here somewhere. Like sometimes I'll say it out loud. Like the solution, the timeline, the perspective, it's here somewhere. It's already here. It's already now, right? They say the time isn't linear. It's all here now. It's like one big flat plane, or you could say like all stacked up on, it's all in one place. There's only here, there's only now. So every time I feel into that, amazing things happen. Things will pop up. I've been wanting something so bad, and as soon as I feel into it's here somewhere, it's like almost instant. But a lot of times I fight with that. I resist it. And if you're anything like me, you probably do too. So this is all of us, all of our reminders right now. It's here somewhere. It's here somewhere. There's nowhere else for it to be. And there's no one way. There's not even just one, we think time, it's like one linear timeline that you're like stuck on. And of course, if something happens that you don't like and you think you're stuck on one linear reality, of course that's going to be upsetting and threatening. How could it not be? But is that the truth? If you're watching these videos, I think you know it's not the truth. If you watched my last video where I showed you the mole that was on my finger and disappeared, like where did it go? I'm in a different, version of my body in a different timeline. It's here, like it's all here somewhere. So I would just I love this stuff so much. It's just so fun. It's so fun to think about it. So I wanted to put this out there. If you're feeling upset about something, that like sitting down, let yourself feel upset, write it down, look at it, maybe see if you can soften it and see it a different way and have a good laugh at yourself for being out of control. And then let yourself like, hey, this person is doing this. All right, well, they have a right to live their life. I prefer this. I have a right to live my life. We both are right. We both have a right to be here to live our lives. And there's a way for us both to be satisfied. And then let the universe show you that that's actually true. You can both walk away feeling satisfied. But what happens, I can hear it now in my head. What happens is you go, well, how can that be? Well, they need to be punished or they did something wrong. You get fixated on it, but they can't get away with this. Would you rather be happy than right? Maybe I'll make a video about that. There's an expression, would you rather be happy than right? It's not that you have to be wrong or that you've done something wrong. It's the nature of right and wrong. There's an energy of I'm right, so this person is wrong. And so do you want to be in that energy of I'm right and they're wrong, and they're wrong and they're wrong, and you can never see them as right or have any benefit from the relationship? Or would you rather be happy and be at peace? It's just a choosing of an energy. So hopefully that makes sense. Maybe I feel like that is a good topic to discuss, the I'd rather be happy than right. And this video, I feel like it's already long. I don't know if it doesn't show me the time, but so we could pick that up another time. But just something to think about, like, how do you want to feel? It's up to you. It's your life. Nobody can feel for you. And if you start defining things as we all get to have what we want, this is working out for me, you start to relax. Everything is here now. It's already here. It'll turn up. It's here somewhere. It's going to turn up. Just like your keys, if you make it that simple. I have had so many things. I'm so happy I'm making this video because now I'm remembering all the things that have quote unquote turned up. And so, anyways, I'm curious if you guys, do you have methods where to get yourself out of that funk? And has anything turned up recently that you thought was lost? And I don't know, I think that's it. Okay. I'll see you in the next video.